What's going on, everyone? It's Jimbo, and I just wanted to jump in. Hopefully that sun flare is not too bad. All right, I just wanted to jump in and kind of give you a story from this week, and something that doesn't happen all that often, but has happened about a handful of times in my detailing career. And it could be, I feel like it could be something that can really cripple someone's business, and really has the power to cripple you as the business owner, especially a detailing business owner. And the reason why I feel confident in saying that is after doing this for, almost a decade, it still hurts. And it happens to be with one of my best clients, and coming up on a client that I've been servicing for about 3 years, weekly. So I've, been to their house, almost 200 times and almost performed 200 services for them. Actually, probably closer to about 150, but still, that's a significant amount of services. Anyway, so I get a call from them, and let me just kind of set it up a little bit. Their house is littered with cameras, a higher profile client, and so well secured, well armed, all that. Never had any issues with them whatsoever. And they call me, and the wife has been sick for a while, and she finally got well enough to get out of the house, and when she went out to her car, her prescription glasses were gone. And actually what kind of sparked the whole thing was that her trunk was open. And for her it was really weird because she hadn't driven her car in a few days because she had been sick. Now it had been 5 days since I had serviced them. So 5 full days had gone by since I had serviced them, and they said, hey, did you make sure to lock the cars? And I kind of have a whole routine, since I service them so frequently. I have a whole routine down of where I set the keys, what I do after I'm done with the cars, how I lock them and everything. So I was almost certain that I had actually locked the cars. And I really try to limit my liability when it comes to anything like that, right? So whether it's locking the cars, moving the cars back into the garage, anything like that, I really try to make sure I lock the cars, and I try not to move the cars back. I really try not to move the cars at all, but I really try to not move them back into any garage. These cars don't sit in a garage. They sit outside full time. So anyway, the gist of the story is I got blamed for their cars getting quote unquote robbed, which the only thing that they took out of the car was a pair of prescription glasses that were designer frames, right? So how do you handle this situation when you get accused of something that you may be responsible for, but you may not be responsible for? And especially speaking with my best client, when I say best, easiest to deal with, best paying, most profitable, and most frequent. So really one of my better clients that I have going right now. How do you handle this situation, this accusation, when you really don't even know if it's accurate or not? So kind of how I operate is I always take the blame. So regardless if I'm right or wrong, I will always take the blame for anything. My wife doesn't agree with that. That's not always the best stance to take. I'm just saying that's the stance that I take kind of in life in general, is that it's always my fault. Because then, at least from that standpoint, then I know how I can handle the situation, even though it's not my fault. So even though I have that overarching theme in the back of my head, I still want to handle the situation, because I do, even though I'm accepting responsibility, whether I'm right or wrong, I still want the clarification to know if I did truly mess something up, because then I can kind of correct my process and change the process if I need to. So how I handled this situation step by step was had a very lengthy conversation with the client that had to do with the mistake or not the mistake, and a slew of other personal issues that were going on between them. Kind of just became a counselor and gave my ear to listen. However, I also offered up ideas. Hey, the front of your house is littered with cameras. Why don't we go back and see if I did lock the car when I left? you know, or what day did this happen? Because honestly, the argument that I could have taken was, look, this potentially happened 5 days after I serviced your car. I can't be responsible for your car after I leave, right? And that's kind of the stance I've taken also in the past, is if someone complains about, you know, a bird pooping on their car after I washed it or detailed it, had that happen before. But the point is, after I'm gone, I can't be responsible for what happens to your car, right? Even though I take full responsibility. So they should have been checking their car to make sure it was locked after I left and every night. I mean, for those of us that live in Southern California or high density, high population areas, you really should just make sure your stuff's locked up. I know if Kevin Davis from Detailer Helpers is watching and you know where he lives, he doesn't lock anything up. But that's here nor there. That's not my reality or the reality of people that live around where I do. So they should have taken responsibility and made sure their stuff was locked, especially after getting serviced. But with that said, I said, hey, check the cameras, and there was you know, a kind of a, not an argument, but a discussion about how, you know, watching a replay of a camera is extremely boring, all that. But I said, look, if you watch the cameras and I'm at fault, I will replace whatever the cost is to replace those designer frames and all that. Whatever the cost is on that, I will make sure I take care of it 100%. My fault. And 9 times out of 10, the person goes, no, don't worry about it. And that's what happened in this situation. Basically, what I'm trying to do, though, is diffuse the situation, right? They're angry. They feel invaded because they've been robbed. They feel taken advantage of, something that wasn't their fault, out of their control, or whatever. That's their, even though I would disagree with that statement, that's their viewpoint, right? So I'm trying to diffuse, I'm trying to get them out of the red, back in the green, feeling comfortable with me, because really, and why am I willing to eat the cost of that purchase? Even if it's not my fault, I'm willing to eat the cost of that purchase, because realistically, how much is it gonna cost? $500, maybe? I mean, even at that, maybe, let's say it was $1,000, right? $1,000. Well, that client over 150 services have probably paid me probably close to $30,000. So would I be willing to, you know, give them, and it's not about giving them money back, but it's just, I want to continue that. I want to make another $30,000 off them. So would I be willing to eat $1,000 to make another $30,000? Yes, because again, I'm just trying to diffuse the situation. So that's kind of the advice and the purpose for this video. If you get accused, try to walk down the steps to make sure that you are the one responsible for it. And whether you choose to always accept responsibility or duck out and avoid it at all costs, that's your decision. But I'm just speaking from kind of a real life example of what's been happening for me this week. And so that's the advice I would give, is kind of own up and try to diffuse the situation and do whatever it's going to take to keep that client if you want to keep them. So what ended up happening in this situation is that kind of after I offered, they declined my offer, said they would take care of it because they obviously have plenty of money to do so. Not that it's about that. So they chose to take care of the situation. They chose to replace the glasses. I don't think they ever looked through the cameras to see if it truly was my fault. So I have my thoughts and feelings and opinions on that, but that is what it is. Basically, the gist of this video is to, if a client accuses you of something, diffuse the situation and try to come to a mutual agreement on how to resolve the issue, and that makes every party happy. And yeah, now I'm at my next location. So I just wanted to jump in, share that little quick video on how I try to handle customers that want to accuse me of mistakes happening. Like I said, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's important to know how you want to handle that situation, because it really can, you know, even, I mean, this happened, let's see, this happened This happened a few days ago, and I'm still kind of processing and reeling through it. And I've been through these situations before with minor stuff. Talked about it when I accidentally crashed a customer's car, when a customer accused me of breaking an air vent. All these different situations I've tried to talk about and be vulnerable about, especially on the podcast, because it could cripple you, and it really takes an emotional toll on you. So I want to share those experiences so that it gives you the confidence when you have these situations arise, because accidents happen, things happen, but just know that you can get through it. Try to handle it as best you can, and try to resolve the situation that's fair for everyone involved. Hopefully my vulnerability is your gain, and that you guys get something super valuable from that.